today we discussed up to remote state, I guess, right? So that's done. Today we would be, I have these three things on my agenda. First one being Terraform modules, which is again very important, like from a code reusability and code configuration perspective. Then we would look into how can we use conditions in Terraform, and we'll take a quick look into functions. Functions we already have been using, so it would just be a quick refresh. Okay, I had
Good.
loops also, but I am doubtful I would be able to cover that. Okay, so yeah, I was little drained up, so I couldn't prepare everything. So these three things let's cover today. Okay, I think it would consume our entire time itself.
Good. Good.
Fine. Okay, then let's start with the modules. Okay, so till today what we have been doing is every time we needed a component we used to write a code for it. Okay, let's say S3, we needed 10 S3 buckets. We have been writing 10 times the S3 configuration, but that's not a great practice, right? We should be able to make reusable components, and so that we can just call them and get our job done. These are basically something exact as the functions in programming language, where we write a block of code and put it in a function. Then whenever we need that, we call that function. So for example, I would write a piece of code to add two numbers. I would name it as add function. So wherever addition is needed in my program, suppose I need 15 times I need to add something. So I will just call the function add numbers and pass both the numbers as arguments to get the value. Okay, so this is the concept of reusability, which is very important in a programming language.
Yeah.
So this reusability can be achieved using modules. So modules are like so what we do is we would be writing certain configuration. Okay, and wherever those configurations are needed, like wherever the similar what do you say entities would be needed, we would be calling those configurations as modules. Okay, so that the things can be so that they become reusable. I'll do a generic configuration for a EC2 instance or a S3 bucket, and then let's say I have 10 applications for which people would be writing Terraform separately. So from within those 10 applications, they just can refer to the configuration, the generic EC2 configuration or S3 configuration, and their entity will be provisioned. They don't need to write the configuration 10 times. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, so we put a code in Terraform module, and wherever needed we can reuse it. Okay, so this is, as I said, it helps the developer to follow industry standard, where reusability is very high. And writing 50 configuration means you have to it becomes a maintenance headache as well. For example, as I said, like suppose you write 50 configuration for S3 buckets. Tomorrow something your security team comes up and says that okay, you have to enable access logging, so you have to go ahead and make those configuration changes in 50 places. Whereas if you have one module which you are referring in 50 different places, and then you just have to make the change in one place, and again automatically those 50 places which would be referring that module, they would be somehow they would the flow would automatically go down to those 50 places. So it becomes an advantage from maintainability also. Okay, and as I said, these are something similar in concept as functions in programming languages. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's look into an example. Okay, as I said, okay, so what we have is here in I have tried to depict in a diagrammatic way. Okay, I have a S3 module, okay, which I write it. Okay, a configuration I have written, and then I have two applications, app 1, app 2. Okay, and those within app 1 you need one EC2 instance and one S3 bucket. Within app 2 you need a lambda and a S3 bucket. Okay, so now here you see I'll have to write two S3 configuration in a general way, which we were doing till today. Two is fine, but let's say you are at an enterprise level and you have thousands of applets running, small apps, and each would
Correct.
be needing a S3 bucket or something. Writing it 1,000 times is a headache, right? So
Yep.
what we do is we have a generic S3 definition, and from within these apps we would refer those. We'll refer that S3.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so
We use the
here is the
modules, exhaustively in my project. Yeah.
yes, exactly. That's industry best practice, right? You will have to use the modules. So
Right.
without that, your code doesn't become reusable, and you have to write multiple. Like every time you need something, you will have to
All
write the
right. That's the
configuration.
concept of the like a modular programming, right? So
Yes,
definitely, yeah. Yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
here,
And
on the right hand, yeah,
right. So writing a module, nothing but writing a resource and everything. Like usually you write a resource and the data block,
correct,
output block, everything, right? So you write all the
correct.
resource and the data block under the module. Is that same concept? Just on the broad level?
You can do it. See, there is no hard and fast rule that you will create a folder by the name module and you place all your modules there. Someone can call them as generic. Someone can call them as enterprise resources. Someone can call them as reusables, like that. So yeah, you can name them as modules and keep them. You can keep them. Yeah, this is in a in a high level in a if I put that in a generic way, you can group all your modules into a folder. You can keep them like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you may name them as modules or you may name them as something else. It's up to you. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah. So here, if let me try to show you the folder structure. What I have done is here. Okay. So what I have is I have a common bucket. Okay. And here I have a main.tf in which I have the configuration defined of the bucket, S3 bucket. Okay. Now I have a application folder inside which I have multiple apps. Okay. In those
Yep.
apps, I'll again have main.tf for those particular app. And from these main.tfs, I would be referring the main.tf which is in common bucket. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And how do I refer that? The syntax would be inside these app 1 and app 2 in the main.tf of app 1 and app 2, I will not be writing the resource definition. Okay. One second. Excuse me. Okay. So I would
Yes.
not be writing the resource definition. My resource definition would be inside the main.tf of the top level, the common bucket. Okay. Here what I'm going to write is I'm going to write something called as a module, and I will put the source of the module to be this. Okay. So you see here main.tf. Okay. Here I would be writing module app1 hyphen s3. Okay. This is a name, whatever I'll give to my module. Okay, app1 hyphen s3, and then the source what I have done is dot dot, which takes me to app1. Okay, it takes me one level up, again a dot dot, it will take me one more level up. Okay, and then in parallel to that I have my common bucket, so slash common bucket. So automatically it will take the main.tf inside the common bucket as its source. Okay, so I just have to give the relative path, or you can if you want, you can give the full qualified path starting from your root folder till your common bucket, or you can put the relative path. So this will, what it will do is this is going to read your main.tf inside the common bucket, and it is going to whatever has been defined in main.tf, it is going to create it for app1. Similarly, it is going to create it for app 2.
Yep.
Okay, I have done the same thing in app 2. Okay, so as I'll repeat myself, I will have the resource definition in one file. Okay, and I will refer that file from multiple other files. Okay, so this is the reusability. Okay,
Yep.
yeah. So reusable is something which is write one configuration file and use it at multiple places. Okay, now what is configurable? Okay, by configurable, what I mean to say is you use the same configuration file to deploy resources with different properties. For example, mm, what we have been doing earlier, the EC2 box, okay, the EC2 box capacity or the class of the EC2 box would be T3 micro for my dev instance. But when it goes to my production instance, I can have a M4 large over there. Same configuration file would be provisioning me two different types of EC2 servers.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so that is configurable. Okay,
Yeah.
now the concept of modules, okay, they not only help you to make your code reusable, but it also helps you to make your code configurable. Okay, we have this code at one place, it can be referred from multiple places, and it can be uh, differently configured from those two places. Okay, and how do we do that? Modules plus the concept of input variable, we use them together to make the modules reusable and configurable. Okay, so my previous slide change a bit more. Okay, now you see here what I have done. See this one, I told you app1 app2 are there, one EC2 lambda is there, S3 are there. Okay, now if I the current state, I have same app1 and app2. App1 needs a EC2 and a S3 bucket, but this S3 bucket, the requirement is it has to be public.
Yep.
Okay, here lambda and S3 bucket is there, but the requirement over here is it has to be private.
Yep.
Okay, same configuration file being referred to from multiple places, which will render me the same resource but with two different properties. Okay,
Yep.
how do we do that? We'll use the concept of variable. So on the top level where I have my bucket configuration, the property which I want to be configurable, I'll use a variable there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the value of the variable, I will be passing it when I call the module, when I refer to the module, exactly the way we do in functions. How do I call a function? The function name within bracket argument 1, argument 2, argument 3 we pass, right?
Yep.
Similarly, in case of a in case of a sorry, in case of configuration, whatever I need configurable, I'll put it into a variable.tf in parallel to the uh, file configuration file, which is a reusable code for me. And then when I call that, I would be I would be passing those variables. So now let's see. For me, S3 public and private. Let's see, it is defined by a variable var1. Okay, so I would define the var1 in variable.tf, okay, in common bucket. Okay, now how does my module call of the module changes? Okay, if you see in the previous slide, I showed you just call the module and provide the source. But if you see here, when I call the module, I provide the source. Along with that, I'm passing one variable. Okay, the variable value is public when I'm calling it from app1, but when I'm calling from app2, the variable value is private here.
Yep.
Okay, so as I said, just exactly as functions, you define a function at a place with certain variables, okay, from multiple other places, you call the function, okay, and pass the arguments to fit into the variable, and your arguments can change as per your need. Okay,
Correct.
so this makes my code reusable as well as configurable.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
now where are the modules? Okay, one, In GitHub you find multiple modules which are ready-made modules for your use. Okay, you can use them. Okay, the Terraform registry which we saw other day, there are modules available over there. And
Mm.
third is you can write your own modules. Okay, so now let me quickly take you there,
Yep.
github.com. Okay, so if you go here, you see a lot of modules are available. Okay, let me open up a Terraform VPC for you. Okay, it's there. And see, if I open up the main.tf, have everything. Okay, the way we have the definition, resource definition, all these things are there. Okay, and
So I see dynamic. What is that? Just if you go down, so I know we have to use PC resource. Yeah, dynamic egress. Is it like a dynamic blocks? Right? It's like a um, static and dynamic
it
is like
changes. Yeah, yeah, the value changes.
okay, right, right.
Okay,
The value
so
changes while every time executes it. The say
exactly.
for example, like an IP address. We take an example, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
So this is there. Now let me take a step back. I showed you inside the Terraform. Oh, sorry, Terraform AWS VPC. We have the main.tf, and whatever are needed, the variables are there. Okay, variables.tf are there. Okay, output.tf, whatever all the things needed for a module is there here. Okay, and
So
how
if
do you
somebody
use it?
say, hey, can you add the tags to my project, right? So usually we add tags for each resource, right? Um, so how do I know which block, whether I need to do it at the VPC level or I need to do at yes, like the separate resource level is something. How do I know that?
So
I'm talking about the tags.
when somebody asks you to add a tag, every tag is for a resource. If the
Okay.
requirement is for VPC, you add it in your VPC. If the requirement is for EC2, you add it in your EC2. Now if your question is, should I add it in a module level, or should I add where the module is called? Was that
For
your question, or huh?
no, no. So they say, hey, can you add these tags to my
Hmm.
project? And when they say project, that means that's the entire application level, right? So then it has to be at the VPC level, is something like that, I can assume. Or how do I
Actually,
know? Or see,
yeah,
I can ask the user the separate question, but is there any way I can figure it out? Hey, can you add?
no, no,
Uh,
you have to ask them. When you tell at a project level, see, two ways. Okay, either what is the definition, if it is defined in your project that when somebody says you to add the tag, you add to all the resources in that project, that can be one way. Or else the user has to tell you to which resource you have to add.
okay. If it is all, then is it at VPC level?
No, individual resource configurations you have to go and add the tags.
Um,
You
okay.
adding it at the VPC level doesn't make the same tag attached to all the resources you have.
Oh, okay.
VPC
Okay.
itself is a resource. VPC itself is a resource. I'll tell you. When you say I am provisioning an EC2 within a VPC, VPC is not a parent of EC2. VPC is not a parent of all the things which are there inside it. VPC itself is a
Uh,
resource.
yep.
Okay, and
Yep.
your EC2, which is a network type resource. And when you provision a EC2, the ENI, the network card of your EC2, is going to be within the IP ranges of that VPC. VPC is a logical, what you say, is a logical private network created for you, which is done by keeping a particular range of IPs aside for you. right?
Yep.
And setting up rules that no one can enter within, no one can access those IP rules, and you cannot access anything beyond those IP rule unless and until you make the configurations for that. Okay,
Yep.
so it itself is a resource.
Yep.
Okay,
Sounds good.
then
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
have certain subnet or EC2 under that VPC, so if you tag a VPC, doesn't, these are not the child resources which would be automatically tagged. These
Perfectly
are other
explained.
resources which use the VPC.
Yep. 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 I
Okay,
think you
so
clarified me. That's what I was thinking, some hierarchy level, but that's not. It's just a
no, it's
resource.
not.
Like that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So everything is like a flat run here. There is no hierarchy in terms of resources. There is no
No,
such.
they,
It's a certain hierarchy if you want. Hey, first to spin up EC2, or first you spin up S3 and then
those
go
are
to EC2.
those
Yeah.
are dependencies. Those
Yeah.
are dependencies. Okay, when
Correct.
hierarchy, how does it come hierarchy? Hierarchy will be in Terraform. In Terraform, you will be having parent-child kind of thing, where one resource is dependent on other resource. In Terraform, you can mention them as parent-child. But when it
Hmm.
goes to resource at AWS level, okay,
Yeah.
those are dependencies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, one uses the other.
Yep.
Okay, so when somebody tells you you have to attach this tag to my project, so you have to ask what resource in your project needs this tag. Is it like all the resources? Usually when somebody says this tag needs to go into my project, it will be for all the resources. Why I will tell you? Somebody, let's say, you are the product owner or you are the project owner, okay, and there is a tag. Let's say your project code is P001 and you need a tag P001 attached to all the resources, so to your project. So what you will do is any resource which is provisioned by you, your guys, okay, you need to make sure there is a tag with a name value pair of project equals to P001 attached to all the resources. So that tomorrow, let's say if I'm doing your billing, I need to know your estimate, how much you have spent. I need to know your budget and all. So I would do a filtering. The finance guys and all, they would do a filtering on the basis of the tags project P001. So what it will do is it will take out the expense of all the resources which have been tagged with P001, that will give you your bill.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I think
So
that's
that's
what
why,
we are definitely doing for the billing purpose, right? Yeah, that's
yes.
correct.
So
So
when they say to my project, any resource which is being used by that project should have this tag added to this. So you will have to go to the configuration of all the resources and you will have to get the tag added, and then um, usually it would be a standard practice, so you will have to add a tag p project equals to, and you put it in a variable. Now when somebody from project 1 tries to create that resource, they would pass on the value of p001. When somebody tries to create something from project 2, they would pass on the value of p002, that way.
okay, okay,
Okay, yeah, so
yeah.
what I was, yes, so yeah, here, so how do you use this, how do you use this one from GitHub? Okay,
So in my
so yeah,
requirement, people ask me, hey, update the Terraform code for S3 bucket. So specifically, they say that, and they gave the project code. So that means it's at the
S3 level. You just
S3.
have to add the tags to the S3 configuration wherever it is.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I can show you that. Okay, later. Yeah, please. Yeah, I think I got it. What you said. Yeah, appreciate.
Yeah, welcome. Okay, fine. So this is done. Now what I was showing you is similarly, you also
Some
have
of the things
ready-made.
you explain really good, you know. So rather than taking too much depth into it, so sometimes that was my question. And hey, how does is there any hierarchy in that? So do I need to look into code in a hierarchical way? No, it's not. So look into the resource, look into that particular code, work for that particular resource only. Unless there is no, if you need like a something at a global level, look into the. Usually, we what we do is we have a commons.tf, and then we are referring that to in each project. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I can, yeah, that's what. So the concept, I will show you that. It's pretty much like a mod, I don't know, it's a modular programming you called as, or it's different, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's what.
almost everything would be defined into modules only. So that's what I told you. Some people would call it under module, some people will keep it as generic, some people will call it as commons, as you said. Commons, as the name suggests, those resources would be used across your project. So you write a configuration, you put it in commons, and
Yep.
people will just refer those commons in their code. Okay,
Yep. Yep.
like that. So different projects prefer different naming conventions. Okay, but yeah, the core concept would be, yeah, you have to make sure you have reusability in your code.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, there is GitHub, and if you see here, even the Terraform.io other day, where which we were seeing, okay, over there also you have providers and you have modules. Okay, so
So our folder structure, sorry for interrupting. It is like a Terraform. We have an accounts, and where we define all the accounts at the VPC level. I don't know why we separated that. So the accounts will say, only two files which it refers to the VPC, and we have a modules, and we have compositions. I don't know. So these are the three folders we maintain. So I think
okay,
composition is nothing but a, I don't know, commons folder, but yeah, I can show.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Once
Yep.
we wrap things up, then
Right.
we'll see your
But pretty
project
much
in
the
detail.
same.
Then
Yeah, pretty much what you're explaining. The
yeah.
folder structures are the looks like the same. Yeah, they are all referring
So
to the central point as much as possible. But some
yeah.
of the code they are writing at the project level as well. That's where I had the confusion. If I want to do modification, whether I have to do at the project level or I have to refer to the commons. Yeah, but you
So
clarified me
it's
pretty
pretty
much.
it is pretty simple. So what you need to do is first you should have a bottom up approach. Okay, you reach to the project level code. Okay, over there you can see either there is configuration or there is reference. Okay, if there is configuration, you have to make the change there. If there is reference, you go to the reference path. Okay, then you make the change.
Yep,
That's how we'll be doing. You should take a
correct,
bottom up approach. Okay,
correct.
whenever there is any change, you are
Yeah.
sure that let's say if somebody asks you to change in S3, okay, you are sure that your team strictly follows no configuration at a project level. We would refer to the S3 which is there at the generic level. Then you go ahead and make the changes in generic level. But if you have doubt, somebody is not following that instruction and they may have done some configuration at a project level, so you start from the bottom down.
Right,
Okay,
right,
you go to the project level thing, you open that, you will easily make out, like today what we would be seeing. So you will not have any configurations there, you will have their modules, okay, defined, which then the if you see the source of the module, they will be pointing you to your generic folder where you have the generic definition. Okay,
yeah,
then you get to know, chalo, my definitions are not here at a project level, it is there at a generic level, I'll make a changes at the generic level. But if the things are other way around and you have your definitions in the project level, then you will have to make the changes there. Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
fine.
yeah.
So yeah,
So
so
every project, if you go to the previous slide, yeah, sorry for
no problem, no
here.
problem. Go ahead.
So the previous slide, so every uh, project or the application will have a kind of a subfolder under the applications, and each application can have its own locals.tf, variables.tf, and output.tf,
Yeah,
all those
yeah,
files, and
yes,
also it can have on the commons bucket. Now,
yes.
if I have two variable.tfs here and there, what's
Mm-hmm,
the like? Yeah, can you explain that?
mm-hmm. Okay, so the variable.tf which is there at this commons level, right?
Right.
Okay,
And also
this
we
will
have the, yeah,
yes,
so,
yes, I got it.
mm,
So let's say here what I'm saying is here, let's say I have lambda. and S3. My Lambda is not a module. My Lambda is directly configured under app2. This may need some variables, right?
Yep.
Where will those variables be defined? It will be defined at a variables.tf at app2 level.
Yep.
But my S3 is a module call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this one will have certain variables. Where those variables will be defined? Those will be defined at a variable.tf here at
Mm-hmm.
the generic level. That's how two variable.tf would be there. Okay, whatever the reusable component you are calling and you pass the arguments, the variable definition for those arguments will be here in the commons in your generic area. Whatever is directly configured under the application, okay, the variables for them would be present here.
Okay. Okay.
Understood? So what I
Yeah.
would do is, whatever you have asked me now, it sounds little good thing. I would try to prepare a demo for it. Okay, and I'll show you tomorrow how we have two variable.tf, one under the generic, one under the application specific thing, and
Yeah.
what are the different variable, what goes where. I'll show that to you tomorrow. Okay,
Yep. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
today let me complete
Yeah.
the generic
This is
concept.
good. No, yeah. At least I got it completely. Theoretically what you're saying, yeah, perfectly makes sense to me. Yeah, I can correlate, most of
Yeah,
the things, um, how I am reading my code. Yeah, good.
yeah. So now you would be actually we are from a concept point of view, from a training point of view, we are more than halfway through now. So now at least you can, when you see your code in your project and all, you can relate the stuffs. There may
Correct,
be now we would do certain demos and all which would clear up your concept even more, where we will look into more application side. But talking about the concepts and all, you are like we are more than 50% through. So like at least now when you see your code, you can make much better sense than what you used to do before we started.
correct, correct. Now sounds, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we were talking about the source. We saw GitHub has certain reusable components which you can directly refer in your code. But these things, what happens now? I'll tell you, the GitHub Terraform things. Usually we don't do it because companies don't rely on codes which are publicly available. So maximum we use our own modules. We create them, but still it is available for use. Okay,
Okay.
so that's one. Now we saw we have GitHub has certain reusable modules. Then I was showing you Terraform registry, right? Stay
Yeah.
here. So this is the Terraform registry where we had providers and all. So you have something called as modules also here. Okay, you go here, select your filter would be there. Have AWS. So you see VPC modules over here. Okay, whatever we saw in GitHub, similarly we have here also. Okay, and how do we use it? It's written over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so have examples and everything defined over here as the definition over here and all. So what you need to do is, here you don't need to maintain any configuration at a global level. You can directly within your modules, within your code, within your configuration code at the child level, you directly give these are the source as the like your GitHub and your registry.io. But usually we will refrain from doing this because at an enterprise level you always trust on having your code. You don't refer to any code which is available in a public internet. Okay, so this is the third kind now where we define our reusable code. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so now let's do one thing. Let's do a quick demo of the reusable thing. Okay, today is session 5, right? New folder, demo 5. Okay, so okay, now here what we will do is, as I told you, okay, we would create a bucket, okay, generic S3. Okay, here I am going to have the generic definition of my S3. Okay, and then I will have a folder applications. Okay, I will have, let's say, 2 applications with me. A new folder, app1, and I'll have new app2. Okay, okay. So now in generics, okay, generic S3, yeah, in generic S3, or let me, it looks bad in generic bucket,
Maybe hyphen uppercase S3 that way.
generic bucket, that was fine. Okay, so in generic bucket, here I will have the generic definition. Okay, so I'll go back to my demo. Okay, let me open this main.tf, what I have here. So this one will contain the bucket definition. Okay,
Yep.
okay, bucket name. Okay, as I told you, to make it reusable, we have a generic code followed by calling from the application. To make it configurable, whatever changes I want, I will make them in a variable. Okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have bucket name. Okay, my bucket name will change because I cannot have like non-unique buckets. Okay, I need to have unique names. So my bucket name is definitely going to change. ACL, that public private thing which I told you, right? So the bucket name I'm taking from a variable B name. The ACL I'm taking from a variable pubpriv. Okay, now where the variable.tf will be there, it will be in parallel within the generic bucket. Here the definition of the variables will be there because these variables will be called from my actual project code. Okay, from my application code. Okay, so what I will do is I'll create a variable.tf here. Okay, so I'm going to get my, sorry, I have a variable.tf which I'll get. Let me open this, what we have here. Okay, see, I have 2 variables, bucket name and public private. Okay,
Yep.
hello.
Yep.
And
I'm following. Yeah.
okay, so these are the files of our interest. Okay, then what else we have here? Main is there. Then okay, provider.tf, which provides the definition of the AWS thing, and the value of this will contain the, what do you say, your configuration keys and everything whatever we have every time we use. Okay, these are the generic things which we have been using till today. So I'll take them, I'll place them also here. Okay, now let's go look into the application thing. Okay, app1. Okay, from app1, as I told, I in the main.tf I will not write any configuration. I will be just calling the function from the generic bucket. Okay, Go
Yeah.
here, module demo applications, app one. Let me take the main.tf. Let me open this up. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm not writing any configuration. I'm calling the function. My name is app2. Sorry, where did I place app2? I placed it in app1, I think. Okay, so let me make this change. Fine. So yeah, so app1 s3 is the name of my module which I'm calling. Okay, and what is the source? Two level up, common bucket. Common bucket. I have to change this name. I have kept it some different name here. Application tf demo 5. I have kept it as generic bucket. Change that. Okay. So generic bucket. So it will call the main.tf inside my generic bucket. Okay. If you see here,
Yep.
right? So this is, as I said you, the folder structure. I'm here inside applications. I'm here in app one. Okay. One level up, two level up. I have generic bucket. I get inside generic bucket main.tf. This is going to be referred from within the main.tf of app one, right?
Yep.
Similarly, I'll be calling from app2 also. Okay. Take the same file. Yes, and one, I have this file. Let me copy this. Okay, let me open the main.tf of app2. What I will do is app2 s3. I'll name it app2 s3. My source is going to remain same, two levels up. Okay, generic bucket. Okay, the name would be
My
app2.
application.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
express bucket app2. Okay,
Because that is like
then
a static, because that's an application name, so that will be specific to the project. So we define directly there. So the rest
yep,
of
yep,
things are, yeah,
yep.
referring to somewhere. So
So you have a variable. Okay, you are calling a function. You need to pass the arguments, right? When you
yeah,
pass the arguments to a function, you pass the values of that variable. So that's
correct.
what I'm doing. I'm passing the values of the bucket name and the type of bucket I want. I want private bucket in two. Okay. In main one, what do I need? My bucket name. Okay. And I am asking for a public bucket,
Yep.
right? So this is done. So now my actual, okay, my actual resource configuration, okay, needs to happen for app 1 and app 2, right? The state of the resource would be maintained for app 1 and app 2, okay,
Yeah,
and it is going to use a reusable component which is there in generic. Okay, so
correct.
I would instantiate the resource creation from within app 1 and app 2.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because though I am using reusability whatever, finally my resource are being provisioned for the project,
Yep.
right now.
Application.
So yes, for the application.
Right.
So the state of the resource should be maintained at an application level,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
So I would initiate the Terraform from within the app folder. Okay, I
Yep.
would use this main to
You
initiate my.
explained, yeah, that was the next question I had. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. That is where when you run this, it will create like all the .tf files.
Yeah.
So the Terraform, when you init. Okay. Okay. That's clarified me very well. You run it at the application level. That is where it create all these Terraform required
So
things. It will maintain the state at the application level.
yes.
So yeah.
Okay, your state would be maintained for the most granular level. Okay,
Mhm.
you use reusability, you use whatever. Those are
Yeah.
just references.
correct.
At
That's
the
just
end of
like
the day, your reference is successful and your final resource comes up. That is, the final resource is always your project specific,
yep,
right? So
yep.
you have to initiate your resource creation from the
Whether you
most
directly
ground.
give the values here or not, whatever the mandatory fields you need to specify in order to get the resource, and then writing a variable referring to the commons, whatever it is, a best way of best practices. However, the values are required, whatever it is,
Yeah,
right? Because those are the at the granular level. Yeah, yeah.
correct.
Yep, this is what happening. Yeah, I think if I go through my code today, maybe I'll get a better things. Yeah, because only I was thinking is why do we have too many variable.tfs, too many main.tfs? But it makes sense. Every project should maintain its own state. That's the reason you need all the files in every application.
Yes.
Um,
So, and one more thing. See, I'll tell you. Your function is a piece of code, right? Let me talk in a layman term. Your function is a piece of code. Okay. But from where you call your function, that is also a piece of code, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
your reusable main.tf is already there. But the project from where you will be calling that reusable main.tf, this also needs to have a Terraform code.
yep,
That is why
yep.
your multiple main.tfs are there.
Correct,
One
correct,
calls the others. Okay,
correct.
but these
Exactly.
are but the calling guy is also a Terraform guy. The guy who is being called, he is also a Terraform guy. Okay.
Exactly. Yep, yep.
Okay. So now let me do one thing. Let me show you the plan from both. Okay, this is my app one Terraform plan.
See, a month back, I went through like all my code, like line by line, but somehow I missed those these basic steps. That's where I thought to what I'm missing, because what I was thinking, hey, is there any like hierarchy while setting while procuring the resources? First you need to do VPC, then that. How does the Terraform will plan all those things? So, and this was kind of the questions, why do we have like a multiple variables tfs, all those things. But you might have multiple, but it has its own important. So we need to see what exactly it's doing. Yeah, yeah. See, once I know all these things, yeah, definitely this is a yeah. Today's class is very interesting. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So here
Because
I did
modular,
it
if
from
I
app.
don't understand the concept, it's a it's little not confusion. You don't know
Yeah,
what is what. So
you cannot relate. You cannot relate the
right,
things.
right,
Okay.
right.
So now you see my first bucket. Okay. Uh, it's a public bucket. Okay. And the name is app1. Okay. Now let's plan the second thing from the second one, Terraform.
Yeah, man, Terraform is now look like a hot cake.
Hmm.
When I look into the Terraform, like at least I'm hearing this like 4 to 5 years back. Yeah, that it's not that important. So then I was an infrastructure guy for for a long time in AWS. So then I never get a focus on this. Then I thought it's people are
Now
asking,
you
hey,
see you
Terraform.
wherever people cloud and DevOps go hand in hand.
Yep, yep,
Okay. Now here is my plan for the second application. Let's see here. My name is app2 and it is a private bucket. Okay. So whatever two things we discussed, important things. One, we achieved the reusability. Two, we achieved how we can have multiple configurations.
yep,
Okay.
right.
So that is the prime aim of the modules which we covered. Okay. So yeah, let's go back to our code now. I hope modules are clear now, Anand.
Yeah,
Like at
yeah,
least the concepts and
definitely.
all.
I will also read this document. to make sure I understand very clear. Any questions I will ask in the next lesson, but I completely got it.
Sure.
See, modules are the way of centralize in other ways of functions and whatever, but it's just like a centralized place where you refer to the individual applications if you as and when you need it, right?
Hmm.
That's one way I was thinking too.
Yeah, you can see centralize is not a term to use here. When the centralization comes up when you're talking about something distributed architecture and all, where things are there at different places and you maintain a copy of
Okay, so
some
think in more like
things
a function, like kind of correlate to the functions. Okay.
at one place, there the word centralized comes up. I think reusability would be the best term to describe. But yeah, to understand from multiple places, you try to refer the definition. You can say that, but
Yeah.
when you are talking in terms of as an architect or something, here won't this word won't fit in. So
Okay.
centralized things would come up better when you are talking about distributed architecture or something. Here everything is maintained in your centralized repository only, Git or somewhere it will be there, except for the state files. Of course, state files will be in S3 bucket or somewhere. So that's why. So reusability would be a much better term
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
The reusable Terraform codes. You can call them modules. They are placed somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fine. So let's move a little ahead. Next two concepts would be the easy ones. Okay. So you know the conditions in programming, right? If the condition satisfied, we traverse a route A. If the conditions don't satisfy, we traverse the route B, like that.
Right.
So if else and all those things are conditions. Okay. So Terraform enables you to use condition. Okay. True false way, in a boolean way, it enables you to use the conditions. You apply a condition. If the condition gets satisfied, you can get something implemented. If the condition doesn't satisfy, you can have something else implemented. Okay. So the conditional operators which are supported are your equals, doesn't equal, like some value equals to something, some variable value equals to something, then you do this. Is not equals to something, you do this. That is supported. The integer greater than equals to less than equals to, that is supported. And your logical and or things are, and not, these are supported. Using these you can do certain operations in Terraform. Okay. So the syntax for this is, you write the condition followed by a question mark, then you write the result, then you write the case you have to traverse if the condition is true, followed by a colon, and then you write the case to part to traverse if the condition is false. Okay. If you look here in an example. Okay. So this is something, a concept called as count in EC2. Okay. When you provision a EC2, let's say you want to write a configuration once for a EC2 and you want to provision 10 EC2s with exact configuration. Then there is a property called as count which you can use. And if you put the count value as 3 or 4 EC2 boxes will be provisioned. Okay. Is there. Okay. Now I am using that count in this example. Okay. So what I'm doing is, you remember the variable dep environment, whether it is prod or dev we used in last class.
Mm-hmm.
What I was doing is, if it is prod, I used to provision T3 micro. If it is sorry, T3 small. If it is dev,
Right.
T3 micro. Okay. So I'm using the same variable. I'm putting a condition on that variable. Okay. If my dep environment equals to dev, so I'm using this one. Okay. Then my count value has to be 1, or else my count value has to be 2. Okay. So if the dep environment is going to be prod, it will provision me 2 EC2 instances. If it is going to be 1, it will provision me 1 EC2 instance. Okay. So this is the syntax for your conditional operator. And by this way, so what you can do is, let's say your S3 bucket here, same way. Okay, so if you have S3 in development and production, your development S3 can be a public S3. Your production S3 has to be a private S3. Similarly, you just depend whether it is dev.
Oh,
In that case,
okay.
you do
Yeah.
it instead of count here. It will be your the knuckle thing which we used in S3, and here the first value would be public, followed by second value private, like that. Okay, so like depending on your use case, you can use the conditional variables. Okay,
Correct. Is this
so
is at our application level variables
yeah,
or
these would go, no, these
yeah.
would go in configuration itself. All these would be written in configuration itself from the application. Okay, if you are writing something at a application specific, so this goes with the configuration. Now your configuration, depending on your use case, it can be in the reusable portion or it can also be in the application.
Yep.
Okay, so this
So
goes in
since you are
wherever
not
your
defining the
configuration.
since you are not giving like a dot pointing to the like say in our example you are not pointing to give any like a commons folder, right, like a dot dot slash or anything here. So does it assume that this var dot depnv file, the variable dot tf should be in the local to the project, or did I miss
Yeah, yeah,
something?
yeah. Correct. True. That is true.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
should be local to the project. So now let's come out of the concept of module. I'm showing you the concept of condition. I'm not putting the puzzles together. Okay.
Okay.
Separately, I'm
Okay.
explaining the concepts. Okay. So
Yeah, this very well I understand because we use the counts also very frequently. So whenever we say, hey, this is we don't use for yeah we use for dev and prod very frequently, and then we specify certain parameters. But yeah, I got it. But I just want to know where these files are. I need to look into. But yeah,
yeah. So
because
when
people
this is
are
not, yeah,
asking. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So this is not referring to any modules. Okay, this
Yep.
is not referring to any modules. So of course the variable.tf, which is there in your local, which is there within the folder, in parallel to the file, in
Application.
parallel to this configuration file, that will
Yep.
have the definition of this, and the
Yep.
value can go in terraform.tf vars, which is again in parallel to that, or during runtime you can put your value, you can provide your values.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
But usually we don't put it at the runtime at the enterprise level, right? Because when you run
No.
through Jenkins, then how do who will pass these values?
Yeah, exactly. So it becomes, then it is hundreds of values. Okay, you don't put it
Right.
uh,
And then all
runtime.
the things will come, right? Uppercase, lowercase, whether we
Yes,
give a proper
yes.
naming,
So
so on. So
usually you will maintain a configuration file with the
yeah,
values, with the variable name and name value pair. The way we have this terraform.tf vars, right? Like that kind of file is maintained. Let's say
yep,
for every environment and all, they are maintained, and we use those files.
yep, yep,
Okay?
yep,
Because it's, if it is 5 6 arguments, yeah, you can pass them. But
yeah,
when it comes to 100 lines of codes, there will be at least 20 to 30 arguments would be there, or maybe
yeah,
more than
yeah,
that. It's
yeah,
very difficult to pass them from the command line. Okay, and
yep,
no one is going to execute Terraform manually, go on entering the values. Almost like every
correct.
time the command call would be done through Jenkins only. So ideally, the best way is to use a file to provide the
Yep,
provide the values.
yep,
Okay?
yep,
Everywhere, even I have used Chef and all.
yep.
Chef is another infrastructure automation tool. Over there, we used to have environment files and all, where we would be configuring the variable values, whichever are needed.
Hmm.
The configurations were called as cookbooks. Okay, those would have the code definition, like to create directory, to move a file from here, there, blah blah. All those things would be there. They would be using some variables. Those variables would be coming from different kind of files, environment
So similar to
file.
Ansible playbook, you say? Is
Yeah, exactly. Chef and Ansible, they are same things. Okay,
okay. What do you mean the same
so
thing? Both are two different companies or they merged together? I don't know.
yes,
I'm just
both are,
asking.
no, not merged together. Competitors
Okay.
doing the same thing. They are
Since
rivals doing the same thing.
okay,
Chef
because
is
I'm familiar with the Ansible because in the previous project, I was running some Ansible playbooks
yeah.
and doing some changes at the Ansible level. Okay, okay,
So yeah, same kind of thing.
okay. So instead of Ansible, we can use Jenkins. Is it?
No, 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 no,
No,
no,
or
no.
no, right? Yeah,
Jenkins is an orchestration tool. Okay.
right.
Jenkins drives in which direction your job would be done. Ansible and Chef, these are infrastructure automation tool. They do the job for you.
Okay.
Jenkins runs the show, but execution of infrastructure, provisioning and all, deployments and all, those are done by Chef and Ansible, in this case Terraform. Okay,
Oh,
got
I
that?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Jenkins never does the thing itself. Yeah, so you see here, Jenkins would have a step to execute shell where it calls the shell. Jenkins would have a step to execute Maven build where it calls the Maven build. Jenkins will have a step to execute your Terraform where it calls the Terraform. But at the end of the day, the jobs for Jenkins are done by shell script. If you have a Groovy, it is done by the Groovy script. If you have a Maven plugin install, it's done by the Maven. So the jobs are done by others.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Jenkins only orchestrates the things. Jenkins runs the show at a high level. That's it.
Yep, yep, yep. Sounds good.
Okay, so fine. These are the conditions in Terraform. Then there are something functions also in Terraform where you have many ready-made functions which are available in Terraform, which we use. And the way we call is function name followed by whatever arguments it take. Knowingly, unknowingly, till today we have used lot of functions. We can go back into our code and we can see. One of them I have shown here, lookup. You remember when we were reading the map, when we were doing the map function.
Yep,
Okay, so I had the map variable defined, and then we used to read another variable. The dep environment used to be the key, and EC2 class is the map variable. Depending on the key, it used to return me the variable of instance type. So what is this lookup? It is a function. Okay, similarly, if you take this dep environment, someone can put it as capital prod, or someone can put it at lower prod, lowercase. So to make them, there is another function called as a lower. You can have lower followed by, within bracket you pass this value, so it will convert it into lowercase, exactly the way we have functions in programming languages. We
yep.
have functions here and we have already used them. So I just to make you aware that yeah, there are functions available which we have been using, I have put in this slide.
Good.
So from a theory standpoint, these are the things which have been planned for today, and we did look into modules. So let me just do a small demo for the uh, what did you do for the conditions part. Okay. I already have it here. Let me take you there directly. I have something here. Okay. So here I'll show you. I have a EC2 definition. Okay. What I showed you over there, the count. Okay. I have, depending on the dep environment. Okay. If the dep environment variable value is, so if is equals to dev, then I should have a count of 1. If not, then I should have a count of 2. Okay. Then rest everything remains same. I have a variable dot .tf. Okay. Where I have all those mentioned, and I have this dep environment. Okay. This is a example exactly which we did couple of days ago. Okay. Only thing is I have added count into my configuration. Okay. I have added count into my configuration, and I have put a condition statement here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and execute this plan and see what is the output we get.
Yeah. So when we are defining the key
Now,
thing, one of the key thing is we need to see whether that is a map or list as per the the resource requirements, and then we need to declare the variable according to that.
yes.
Right.
So here my variable definition comes from variable value comes from a tfvars file, okay, and dev environment I have put it as prod, okay. So according to my condition, if it is prod, I should get 2, because if dev environment is dev, I should be getting one instance. If not, then I should get 2. So as I have put prod, so let's see, I hope I should be getting 2. So Terraform plan. Mhm. Okay. So you see here, there are 2 resources to be added. Okay. We go up. It's only EC2s only. Okay. Web instance 1, web instance 0. Okay. 2 instances we have because I passed my value as prod. Now let me just change this one to dev. Okay. I'll clear and run the plan again. This time it should give me only 1, because as per my condition, the count would be 1 in case the environment is dev. Okay. You see here, there is only one resource to add. So we'll
Perfect.
just have only web 0. Okay, there is no web 1 here. Okay, sorry.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have just one resource. Okay, so that's it.
Yep.
Okay, so I hope the things are clear what we covered today. I wanted to cover the loops also today, but I'll park it aside from for tomorrow. So tomorrow
Okay.
we'll look into loops. I'll add it to session 5 itself. Here only I'll extend the slide. I'll just put one more concept of looping here before we
Okay.
close the session 5. Then we'll start with session 6 tomorrow. And I'm thinking to put in project structure tomorrow. Like how do we structure it? Or I'll see tomorrow morning if I'll just revise if I have missed any smaller blocks. I'll put it before I go to
Mm.
project structure, but mostly we'll start getting into project structures and all from tomorrow.
Very good.
Then we will follow with what do you say, use cases, smaller use cases I'll prepare where we provision entire VPC, EC2, RDS and all. We'll see, we'll
Yeah.
relate stuffs and all. We'll do smaller projects, and then I think our training power portion would be done.
Excellent.
Okay,
Excellent.
I'll just get inside. I'll see by any chance if I have missed something. So maybe in
Yep.
one or two more sessions, we'll cover up those things. Then we would have our demos with whatever best practices possible and all. We'll try
Yep.
to make different project structures and I'll see how things work and all. Okay, and tomorrow
Perfect.
I'll make sure I show you this thing which you told me today, the to differentiate between the variables at a local level and at a reusable level, what are the variable files we have. Okay,
Right.
that
Right.
was creating a confusion, right? We'll see that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
fine, Anand, we'll catch up tomorrow then. Have a great day. Please go through modules. If you have
For
any
sure.
questions and all,
So
tomorrow we can
tomorrow
see
you'll be
that.
available, right? Sunday. Just want to make sure you
You
mean.
do you want to have a class, or you want to
No,
take break
I
on
do.
Sunday?
I do want because it's very good because even Monday holiday to me, so we can extend. It's up to you. We
Yeah.
will, we will take more time to cover tomorrow and day after tomorrow. That way, we will try to, learn more rather than, yeah, that way, so I'm good. So tomorrow I'm very good. So yeah,
Okay,
come
fine.
with,
Same time.
good health and have fun today. So then we'll
Yeah, yeah.
definitely, we'll spend the time tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, fine.
Because the most of
Good.
the things you're explaining very good, so I don't have any much questions too. But
Yeah, see,
um,
the thing is, it's been so many years in the industry, right? You're relating the things very fast.
yeah,
Okay, so that's why you are able to relate whenever whatever I'm saying. Only thing certain Terraform related
correct.
specific
So
concepts
what
there
is
would
the
be little
Terraform
confusing.
recently came up? So do you have any like, hey, Terraform recently doing so many things? Do you have such at least the features of the Terraform? If you could cover like whenever you wrapping up the session. See, you don't need to cover those, right? Because those are advanced, but just in the point of when I'm speaking with the people, if you know some terminologies, also you can use those
So
words
that
like I would say Terraform is having it's already covering a
that
multi-cloud.
portion actually, you hear me, Anand? Hello?
I can I
Yeah,
can hear.
I think those advantages and all we discussed in the first class itself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
No, I got it, but yeah,
hello?
whenever you get in your
Yeah.
mind, hey,
So those
Terraform is very
advantages and all we discussed
beyond
in the
the.
first class itself. And
Yep, yep.
more than that, we'll have to
Yeah, now it's breaking.
happened. I am not able to hear. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's
now it's,
better now. Do you hear me now? Clear? Hello?
yeah, yeah, it's clear.
Okay. So those things and all we had covered in the first class itself, like what are the advantages and all, what are Terraform offering, why it is used and all. Okay. And then there is nothing as such very out of the world features. I'll see. I'll try to find out if
Correct.
something interesting I can put it. I'll
Yep,
try to add it towards the end. Okay.
perfect, perfect. Yeah,
Okay. Chalo then. Okay. We'll meet tomorrow. Have a good day
yeah,
ahead. Bye,
sounds
Anand.
good. Bye. Same time, right? Tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah. Same time. Same time. Yes.
Great. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Bye.